Brandon, we talk about wanting to have the elite quarterbacks, especially in these shallower formats. In a 12 by 11 tiered PPR, 1.5 for running backs, 2.0 for tight ends, a point per carry. How much is Josh Allen worth to you? And are you paying Jordan Love 1.7, 1.5, and 3.6 to get Josh Allen with that Devon Chan and 404 thrown in?
Yeah, I'm willing to pay two top tier 2024 picks along with Jordan Love to go get Josh Allen, Devon Shane, and the 404.
Yeah, that's pretty easy for me. Let's talk about it.
Okay, let's get it. Bitch, let's get it. Woo!
Welcome back, Destination Devy family, to another edition of the Destination Devy Trade Show. You know who it is. It's your guy, Ty DeClaire, joined this week by the man behind the scenes, the man with the X handle and his favorites on speed dial. Brandon, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Ty, for having me on.
Love it. I love the creators we have in this space, and I think this is a cool opportunity to get more voices involved. I love your Dynasty mind. We're in many leagues together, so excited to get this going. Where can people find you on X aside from the main Destination Devy account?
So most times you'll find me behind the Destination Devy Twitter. Sorry, I've doxed myself now. I'm the guy behind it, not Jay Rich. Sorry, but you can find me at BG-C over on X.
Excellent. Okay, and I guess you can find me Ty DeClaire 44 if you're looking for me. We got a lot of trades to get to. Let's hop back into this one here. So Josh Allen, Devon Achane, 404. I mean, again, Jordan Love and 105. I don't think that gets me to Josh Allen. You're probably looking Jordan Love and the 2 first to get to Josh Allen. It feels like a free Devon Achane to me.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you try to put some names to those picks. Maybe Drake May, if you can get to that. Maybe it's a Jaden Daniels, so Jordan Love, Drake May, but it's probably realistically going to be like wide receiver 3, and then maybe Brock Bowers. So I mean, maybe not because it's 2.0 tight end premium. So Brock Bowers probably actually goes off the board at 105. So maybe it's Brock Bowers, Jordan Love, Rome Odunze. Does that really get you Josh Allen straight up? Probably not. Maybe it does, but so yeah, I'm with you, Ty. I think that it's almost a free Achane kicked in the deal. Whoever wants to trade 2 firsts and Jordan Love for Josh Allen, send that my way as well.
Yeah,
like I'll take it even in a 12 by 11. Like,
please do.
Yeah, and it's a 0.20 point per carry, so there's a little bit of juice there. There's a little bit of juice there to get the running back, and he has now Mahomes and Allen. That's a pretty good combination, regardless of whether you're retooling or you're trying to compete. It's always nice to have 2 top 5 dynasty quarterbacks.
Absolutely. It's not a necessity to have 2 top 5 quarterbacks to compete. But again, you're playing the format here, right? 1.5 a reception for a running back plus the 0.2 point per carry. Devon Achane is made for this format. So I love this deal for old Matty boy here. Good work. And now, Brandon, we had a whole damn lot of trades here. So we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom. We're going to get through as many as we can here. Let's get to it. And hey, people, I get it. It's small. I'm zoomed all the way in. I can't do anything else for you. We'll brainstorm some solutions, but I'll read it nice and clear for you. Okay, bear with us. So, Brandon, in a 12 by 11 Superflex 175 tight end premium, do you want, let's call it a random 2025 first or the 201 and a 25 third?
I think it's a good way to get off of the 201 in this format. If you can consolidate into 2025 first round picks. I know a lot of people are wondering, hey, Ty, what do we do with the 110 to the 204 range? It feels like a question that we ask ourselves a lot every single year. Mm-hmm. And to get the 2025 first in a startup, that's a pretty fair price to pay for any random 25 first. We're not going to assume anything that it could be the 102. It could be the 112. Could just be a complete reroll, and the only thing that you really had to give up was a 2025 third. So you did give up a little bit of extra liquidity, but securing the first are always a good thing, as we know in most dynasty leagues. First round picks tend to accrue value, even if they're late first.
Agreed. Even if this is the 112 next year, the latest that pick can be is 12. 201, the earliest that can be is 13. Different drafts are going to have different ranges. In 2024, I like that. The depth of the class and what it offers from 110 to 25. That doesn't mean that I want to stay in those ranges, though. And if I can get the bailout for a next year's first, just throw a third in there just to get it done. I love that. Like I said, I don't want to make every single pick, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and Scott Connor and Ray have talked about this on Destination Chill. And so I would encourage you to go look back about the range of outcomes for a lot of these wide receivers. And I would really think that having the 2025 first, it's going to be a surprisingly deep class. I know there may not be as many quarterbacks as we want, but there's going to be a lot of running backs. There's going to be a lot of wide receivers that are going to be available in that class. And I would highly suggest that we start stacking some of those 25 first where we can. And if you've got the 201, the only thing you really have to give up is a 25 third, which is pretty much a dart at this point, which you can get back in the middle of the season. This is a good move.
In a few weeks' time, we're going to be treating those 26 first like we have been those 25 first. And those 25 first are going to become those 24 first. So it's that time of year for changeover. Be the first to market. Strike fast. In a 10-team, Superflex 0.5 PPR, no tight end premium, start 9. Oh, Lord, we have a 3-team trade. So let's try to break this down. So one manager sends away 105 and 205, or they get 105 and 205. They send away Christian McCaffrey and Gus Edwards. Let's start there, Brandon. What do you feel about that individual deal?
105, 205, or Christian McCaffrey? Ty. Let me turn it back around on you.
In a 10-team start 9, it's Christian McCaffrey about every single day, any month, anytime, holidays included. Like, it's Christian McCaffrey. Then you're just throwing in Gus Edwards there as well.
To me, Gus doesn't really move any needle on a start 9, 10-teamer unless you're absolutely without any running backs.
Correct. Okay, so we go down. That same person sent away Christian McCaffrey and Gus Edwards and a 26 first. We just talked about those. They sent away, to get that, they got the 103, the 25, and a 26 second. So, man, again, they got Christian McCaffrey and a first. 103, 22nd. Would you pay would you pay 205 for Gus Edwards, Brandon?
In a 10-team start 9, not on April.
Not in April.
On April 19th. I will not do that.
We don't have to set those lineups yet.
In 5-6 months, I might pay a 205 and a start 9, 10-teamer. Now, I will say this, the added information at the top, this is the team that did add CMC, already has Mahomes, JJ, and Brees. So you're getting for essentially the 103. Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's just say that's Malik Neighbors. So you traded Malik Neighbors to 205 and a second round pick and was able to get Christian McCaffrey in 2026 first. Well done, sir. Well done.
Well done. Well done. Like I said, Gus Edwards in the 26 second, like I value that's 26 second less than the 205. So that's probably about square. I'm telling you, if you can get Christian McCaffrey in a first for 1-3 and 2-5, I'm doing that again every day. Then to round out the 3-way trade here, 1-3 and a 26 second was acquired for the 105 and a 26 first. How? Again, we're dealing with limited information because the draft is literally days away. How big is that gap from 103 to 105? And would you swap a first and a second to get there?
Again, not knowing all of the complete league format, the 2026 first to the 2026 second, it's actually kind of a slightly shrewd move to maybe move up halfway inside of the tier. I mean, we all kind of have Caleb and Marv probably in a half tier ahead of Neighbors, May, Daniels, Bowers, Odunze. So to move up to the top of that tier to kind of get the person that you want and only have to swap a 2026 first for a 2026 second, it's actually not that bad of a deal, really, for that person. Like, if we have to say who out of the 3, I would probably say T Porter got the best part of the deal. Happening Ding got, a pretty fair, reasonable deal. And then the top guy, Shridar 012, patreon.com/all gas, my friend.
Please
come on into the community and let's help that team out.
Please. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it comes down to how much is that choice worth to you? How much is going to that 1-3 for the 1-5? We don't know all the information yet. Again, I think it's going to depend a lot on landing spots. I'm generally a fan of turning my seconds into firsts. especially if I don't have a need that I have to fill at that 103, I can just move back to 105, probably get same access to what I would have at 1-3, but just take the choice away. And I get to have a first in 2026. I'm cool with that. Yeah, I agree. T Porter smashed. This is just a square deal. Sorry, topside. Not your day. Not your day. Someone always has to, lose those three-way deals though. Someone gets hosed. It seems every time. So, all right. Big Diaz Energy. Shout out to Big Diaz Energy. 12-team best ball start 11 super flex. We got a tiered PPR, so 0.5 points per reception for running back, a 1 PPR for wide receivers, and then it bumps up to 1.75 for tight ends. We'll get into the team context here in a second. But in this league, so again, 12 by 11 best ball, sending away Chase Brown, 1.9, and the 1.11 for 108 and 201. So I'll tell you this again. We talk about tiers, and we don't know where they're really going to fall. We've all kind of landed on that 108 being probably your last access to that quarterback or that middle tier of elite assets. 1.9 is probably that like Brian Thomas Jr., your choice of running back, maybe a quarterback that gets good draft capital in a week here. 1.8 to 1.9, I don't know how much it's really worth the bump up there, but I'm not counting those as two completely different things. They're pretty close to me. 2.1 and 1.11, a bit of the same story, but really, if you just want to like 1.8 and 2.1 or 1.9 and 1.11, take your pick. Again, it's kind of a very similar range for me, and just one side is getting Chase Brown. Chase Brown doesn't move the needle all the way for me, but it seems like that's just the side that has the most in it. It's 2 picks for 2 picks in very similar ranges, and one side gets a running back. Do you see it any differently?
Don't really see much difference in it. Yeah, it's kind of sits in that similar range. Now I'm looking at some of the details ahead of it.
Yeah.
Warp favors the quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
right? Wide receivers are equal to tight end, fade the running back. So this is not a draft where you really need to worry about the running back. Again, this is one of those deals that I'm not making on April 20th, April 19th. Like I'm not making that deal right now because there's not enough details, right? Like, yeah, you talked about there being the shelf of 8, right? That we feel pretty solid with, but in a week's time, things are going to change. And you could probably still make this deal next weekend, or you might be able to get something better than Chase Brown because or maybe you give up less. You don't even have to give up the 111. These trades can change over the course of next week. And I don't think that this is a trade like this with rookie picks a week from the draft. You've already held these picks for so long. There's really no reason to be making sideways trades a week before the draft.
Yeah. I'd love to come back and revisit this one next week. I'm telling you right now, I won't remember, but I would love to come back and revisit, see where these picks end up lying come rookie draft time and after the NFL draft. But yeah, it just feels like an extra running back, and you're paying basically for the choice at 108 and then move back to 201. You're paying Chase Brown to do so. So that could go either way. Again, I'm probably not just making that small microtransaction today with the information we have. All right. 12-team Superflex, start 10, 0.5 PPR. Again, we'll get back to the context. Brandon, we got Deshaun Watson, Chris Godwin, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Mitchell, and Jonathan Taylor. And the other side, we have Jason Brownlee, Greg Dulcich, Raheem Jarrett, 112, Kadarius Toney, Kevin Harris, 2-6, and the 1-5. Okay, so there actually is a good asset on the top. Okay, we have 1-5. Brand, I'm going to tell you right now, there's many leagues where I would just scoff at this top side. It would have to be a deep best ball league for me to even really be interested in the top side. Again, they've been on a rebuild, made some moves. I want the Deshaun Watson side of this very easily. Do you see this differently?
No. I mean, it feels like it's multiple pieces short on the top side.
Yeah.
You could argue Toney and Jerry Jeudy are kind of, no, I wouldn't even go there. That's too far. Toney and Elijah Mitchell cancel one another out. The 105 and Jonathan Taylor, or 112 and Jonathan Taylor, the 105 and Deshaun Watson. So you're just Chris Godwin and Jerry Jeudy are that pile of players plus the 206.
Yeah. I kind of see it as like 1-5, 1-12, 2-6 for Watson, Taylor, and Godwin. Choose how those assets kind of interact with each other. I think that's probably the pocket. And then I'll take Jeudy and Mitchell over just the yuck of everything else there. So again, it seems like they were sending all these players over to an orphan, rebuilding from the ground up. If you're rebuilding, what do you really want to take on these waiver wire guys, or how? Again, we don't have too much context on the rebuilding roster here, but I get getting 1-5, 1-12, 2-6. That's nice, but it feels like you still sold short. And I don't mind taking a loss when I'm in a rebuild, but I'm not really interested in taking on all these guys who are just going to be cut candidates one way or the other.
I'm willing to take on those players, but there's got to be more than the 105, the 112, and the 206. I've got to be able to actually have more than, if I'm trading away essentially 4 usable assets, we'll just say 3 for argument's sake because it's a start 10. I've got to have at least an equivalent amount of usable assets coming back in my rebuild, and I only see 2. The 206 and a start 10. What do you get? Like, is Blake Corum probably going to realistically be of any value to that start 10 rebuild? Probably not. So you're looking at like wide receiver 11, wide receiver 12, you at quarterback 7. Like you're past the Penix, Bo Nix range. So you're looking at like Michael Pratt, Spencer Rattler. Like that's not going to help your rebuild. So word of advice for myself, but also for others, is when you're making these rebuild moves, make sure that you're getting an equivalent amount of startable assets if you're trading startable assets away.
No, I agree. And if I'm here to get points off your team to make your picks better, you don't need to jump straight to the finish line, right? Get something more movable that you can then parlay into another deal. Like you said, it's not enough for me, especially in a start 10. Now, just let me flip this around. So this team, they have Watson's going to be their third quarterback, right? Jeudy, Godwin will be wide receiver 4 as an extra depth. You've held these picks this long, even though it's a good package. Are you interested in sending away 1-5, 1-12, 2-6, like a week before the draft, just to get extra depth?
I mean, I'm fine with getting the extra depth because this is a deal that is far better than anything that I would probably trade the individual 1-5, right? Like, Ty, if I gave you if I offered you the 1-5 and the 1-12, out of those 5 assets, how many of them are you really realistically going to give me? 2?
2, maybe 3. I can throw in that Jeudy and Elijah Mitchell if it makes you feel better,
So I guess my point being is like, if you can toss in the 206 and all of these droppable assets that I don't really necessarily need in a start 10, and I can at least consolidate into Jeudy Taylor Mitchell or Jeudy Godwin Mitchell, and I clear up some extra space for waiver wires after my rookie draft, that's probably actually a really, like, it's a very shrewd way of trying to get rid of pieces you don't need, just tossing them into trades. Again, from M. Sullivan's perspective, I gotta get a little bit more. Get a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm there with you. It's probably one of those. That's probably the best deal that might come around if you're looking to make that deal now. I agree. I can see why it's important. I'm probably a little more hesitant to move that 105 right now just to feel better depth wise, but it's such a good return. I really can't scoff at it. So good work. Okay, we got an MFL trade. 12 teams, Superflex, PPR, start 10, no tight end premium. They're set with Burrow, Richardson at quarterback. Marv would have been the pick at 101. They were thin at running back, so looking for an opportunity to move back some spots. Quarterback they traded with is QB needy. So they're anticipating that they'll have neighbors at the pick. So would you send away Khalil Shakir and your 101 to get Kenny Walker and the 103, given that context?
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Again, I feel like it's been the theme of these trades so far. Are these trades that I really want to do April 19th?
Right.
Like, Are these really like you've held on to the 101 for a minimum months, if not years, because you've been hanging on to 24 first because we've been talking about it for months and months and months. Pick up the 24 first, pick up the 24 first. And now you have the 101 and you have the control of the draft and you move 2 spots to get Kenneth Walker in a new offense in Seattle with Zach Charbonnet still there. I don't believe there was a points per carry bonus. No. So there's really like there's not an extra incentive to get Kenneth Walker.
Right.
I get you're set at quarterback, but if you want Marv, go get him. You got 101. Yeah. Like, and if I'm trading Marv to get to Neighbors, or I'm trading I'm trading the value of that 101, is Kenneth Walker really the only thing that I could have gotten off that team? Like, could I have gotten a 2nd round pick maybe that could have possibly boosted my running back room? Like, again, it's fine. 101, essentially it's 101 for Ken Walker and 103. Yeah. Here in the 403 are pretty much, they cancel each other out in a start 10. Because again, when are you going to if you're realistically starting Khalil Shakir, your team's probably got more issues.
Right.
it's not a bad tier off. Like, it's value wise, it's more of a timing thing.
Yeah.
That's what it really comes down to. Like, Seattle could completely draft more offensive weapons, and all of a sudden Ken Walker's value changes. And all of a sudden you moved the given Marv asset for something that's now depreciated a week or 2 later.
Correct. I'm right there with you. Khalil Shakir, I'm on board with trying to move Shakir before the draft, because any opportunity that comes to that Buffalo offense via the draft, it's going to bump down your Curtis Samuels, your Khalil Shakir's back to probably what they were, which is a roster clogger and a start 10. I fully can appreciate and get how you got there with the mindset. You know, you could take Mar, but you can go back, get a little something on top. And we don't know much about your league and how the league values these picks or where people fall. I'm right there with you, though. You held the 101 this long. Kenny Walker is not the difference between that choice and that power, especially days before the NFL draft. So I don't mind it. Given your context, I'm fine with it because you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. But I feel like you probably could have done more.
Yeah. And that's, I think, where I'm at. It's not that it's a bad deal. It's just the timing.
Yeah. Correct. Okay, really quick. 12 by 12, a little deeper. 2-point tight end premium, rebuilding. 111 or Jacoby Myers and Najee Harris. Got a little more depth, some starters, but if you're rebuilding, I'm pretty okay sending away Harris and Myers for the 111, but I'm not making that move to pick at 111. I'm getting that 111 and trying to do another deal with it more than likely. Move down the board, move back for a future first, move up the board higher. I'm not making this deal just to pick at 111, but I'm fully okay in a rebuild moving off of those 2 assets to get something in a first.
I'm going to assume that they tried to move Jacoby and Najee for more or less. And I think that's probably where they landed, was 111. And I'm right there with you, Ty, when it comes to this is definitely like one move on the chessboard. I'm not drafting at 111. I'm trying to either move a deal similar to what we talked about earlier, right? Was it 111 for a 201 at 25 third? Like, I'm trying to do something like that, or I'm trying to move that asset into an asset in 24 and an asset in 25 if I'm rebuilding. I want as many opportunities in a 12 by 12. I know my roster is going to have to be is probably a little deeper. I know that my starters are a little deeper, so I'm going to need to have quality depth at the bottom. But I would even try maybe Najee Harris, maybe a slightly lesser tier wide receiver. I don't necessarily think I need to give up Jacoby and Najee for the 111. Can I give up Najee Harris and like Darius Slayton? Can I take a step down because Najee's worth an early second? Do I need to trade my mid-second valued wide receiver as well on top of that to get to the 111? So not a bad idea, but for folks who are trying to do like a 2-for-1 in a deeper league, see if you can depending on what side and depending on what they need, see if you can kind of like take a half step down on one of the assets and not put like 2 similar assets just to move them just to get the 111.
That's a really good point. And this is where I would try to play to the format, which they probably did. But again, I start 12. Well, depth matters more. It's a 2.0 tight end premium. Like if that's like I'm assuming lineup because they don't say best ball, but I'm like if that's like a Tucker Kraft instead of a Jacoby Myers playing to that 2.0 tight end premium. Is that a little more in line with what you're looking at?
Yeah, but I would even go deeper than Tucker Kraft. I wouldn't even use the young name. Do I have trying to think off of my top of my head, I wouldn't go even Darren Waller, but can I use like Noah Fant? Can I use Hunter Henry? Can I use somebody who's in the tight end 20 to like 25 range that will give you a few really good weeks in a 2.0 that when you're jamming them into your lineup every single week and 80% of the weeks you're frustrated, at least those 20% spike weeks are completely worth it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least it plays to the format and it plays to, hey, well, you've got a tight end in the 2.0, you're playing the scarcity role. And now I can kind of cycle through some of those guys because I'm imagining if you're rebuilding, you either have one of the top handful, you have a McBride, a Laporta, or you don't, or you just have a sea of tight end 15s and laters. So can you move a few of those older ones that are in that group and be able to move that alongside of a Najee Harris, who running backs are kind of a year in, year out, what have you done for me lately kind of thing, and get to that draft pick to then split the asset.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Shane Manila. Latest YouTube show talked about doing some of these consolidation type moves. If you have a mid team, you're in a rebuild, and so even further that way, you moved a running back for a first and threw in a wide receiver who I like when I'm trying to score points, and I don't want on my team when I'm not trying to score points. So good work. We don't have these starters. Let's assume a start 10, 12-team Superflex PPR 0.5 tight end premium. Brandon, JMO, Jaylen Warren, and our boy with possibly one knee. God, what is his first name? Why am I blanking on it? Keaton Mitchell. Horrible. I'm horrible with first names on the show, Brandon. Keaton Mitchell or Kyren Williams.
This is a very league setting dependent side. I'll say that much. 12 team, start 10, start 11, best ball. I want the package. I think it's a very realistic package. JMO still carries a lot of value. Jaylen Warren still has some value. Keaton Mitchell in a best ball, he's going to give you a few spike weeks. We just know that, and that's fine. That's a fair package for somebody who 365 days ago, Kyren Williams was probably at the same value as Keaton Mitchell. Right. So to be able to cash that Kyren Williams into 3 usable assets in best ball, yes. In a 12-team lineup league, give me Kyren Williams. Like, I know what the Rams offense is going to be. I know what his floor is. I know what his potential ceiling is week in, week out. And then I can consolidate off of JMO, Jaylen Warren, and Keaton Mitchell. That's a pretty reasonable package of assets to move to get Kyren Williams.
Mm-hmm. I fully agree. This is context dependent. Really, any lineup circumstance, unless it's like a start 16 or something crazy, I'm going to want the Kyren side. But I agree. In best ball, it's much more interesting. It comes down to kind of what I can do with those roster spots and what I'm trying to do. But I agree. I think best ball wise, Warren can give you 60% of what Kyren could do. Let's call it maybe 50, maybe 70. Choose your number. JMO and Mitchell, they play that role where they will have those spike weeks. I don't know when. I'm just going to assume they are going to have them. 1 or 2. Those are useful in best ball. And if I need to split the asset, if I need to get more depth in a 12 by 12 best ball, I like this kind of deal. In a shallow best ball format, I'm not there. I'd still want the Kyren side. I'd play that I can either get more for Kyren or, Kyren will still play that role in a shallower league for me versus splitting the asset there. But yeah, I'm assuming this is lineup, so I'm just going to say Kyren on this one.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Perfect. Ooh, here we go. Girth Brooks, a 14-team start 12 Superflex PPR 2 tight end premium and start 2 tight ends. Holy, with a 0.2 point per carry and a 4-point passing touchdown. The 25 first is going to be late. So Brandon, a late 25 first, Jacoby Myers, and Deontay Johnson, or 1-4 and the 3-14? A 14 by 12.
As I break this one down with the context, right? 14 teamer, start 12, super flex. Probably means that Caleb Williams, Marv is probably could be considered, but there could be some QB needy teams at the top. So let's just go QB, and it's Marv. Marv in the 3-14 or Deontay, Jacoby Myers in the 25 first. Like, that's like,
Yeah.
even if let's just say it's not Marv, right? Let's just say it's not Marv, and let's just say it's Drake May or Jaden Daniels, because there is a 4-point, but there is a point per carry. So one of them is probably going to have some crazy value because of the point per carry, because both of them do run the football. I still think that is better than Deontay Johnson, Jacoby Myers, and the 25 first.
Yeah.
Like, any way I look at it, whether it's any combination of Marv, Jaden, Drake, it's still better than the package. And it kind of goes back to that first trade that we had at the beginning of the show, right? All of those different assets to try and get Josh Allen. And it didn't feel like enough. And that's kind of where I think this trade is at.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I think this is one of those deals where it might make sense in terms of who you can start in your lineup. And at 14 by 12, that is like a 12 team start 14. It is a deep league, depth matters. I don't want to discount that. But doesn't it always feel like you're kind of selling short when you're getting this like 30 cent on the dollar players and a first for an elite premium asset like the 104, which in this context, start 2 tight end, 2.0 tight end premium. For me, if Bowers is there at 1-4, I am running to the podium to hand in that slip. So I agree. I think I can do much more with the 104, whatever that player is in the 314 in the package. I feel like I could get Deontay Myers at a late first for an elite asset at any point that I want. I'm going to take that side as well. Good job. No guts, no sausage.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, it's been kind of the undercurrent theme tie up today.
Yeah.
Take players being traded in consolidated packages to move up into this upper tier of prospects a week or two before the draft. Like, just wait. You've waited for a couple months. Just wait for the landing spots. It's not really going to change the difference between 3, 4, or 5. It's not going to be some seismic shift. We already kind of have an idea, and I didn't even think of the start 2 tight end earlier. So yeah, Bowers could be there. Like, yeah, there's just too many options at the 104 that makes sense. Making sense. Yeah. That could help your team over that Deontay Johnson, Jacoby Myers range of wide receivers.
I don't know who's truly going to be there at 1-4, but I know without a shadow of a doubt, people are going to be excited about who's there at that 1-4. And if you're excited about something, you are going to be willing to pay Deontay Myers in a late first any day to get it. So I like this. I like this deal to consolidate and move up. And if you have people with those picks that are burning a hole in their pockets, they're updating the trade bait, just send it out. See what happens. Play to the format like Girth Brooks did here, right? It's deep, right? Let me give you all this. Let me throw that first in. I like. You didn't even send away your own first 2. So it's really, you had this in your back pocket waiting for the opportunity for an elite asset to come available, and then you spent it at the right time. Great work. Great deal. And we're back to MFL. Old Berserker, 14-team super flex, start 12, start 2 tight end premium. I'm going to assume that's start 2 tight ends and a 2 tight end premium, Brandon. On one side, gave up the 1-6. On the other side, Russell Wilson, George Pickens, and Greg Dulcich. So again, 14-team start 12, same deep format, same tight end premium there, but we're not up at the 1-6. We're at the 1-4. We're at the 1-6 now. Does Russell Wilson, George Pickens, and Dulcich equal the 1-6 in a deep format?
It probably does. To be honest, it probably does. Even in a lineup, it probably does. It's probably fair value. But is this a deal that you're making on Friday, April 19th at 9 o'clock in the morning? Right?
Right.
is this what I want to trade my 106? Let's just kind of go quickly, Ty. 101, Caleb Williams. 102, let's just play the devil's advocate. Let's just say we're not going to go quarterback, right? 102 is Marv. 103 is Drake May. 104 is Jaden. 105 is Brock Bowers. So you have, start 14.
Neighbors, Odunze, probably one of those receivers.
Neighbors, Odunze. Shoot, if you're tight end or if you're quarterback dependent, maybe you take JJ, right? Because he lands in a top 13. He's going to have top 13, top 15 draft capital. Like, am I trading JJ McCarthy? Am I trading Rome Odunze for Russ, Pickens, and Dulcich? Like, it just doesn't feel like a trade I want to make Friday, April 19th. Like, either I'm making that trade earlier in the offseason, or I'm making that like when it was the Wilson Dulcich stack, but now I'm getting the Wilson Pickens stack and I'm paying the 106. Like, I hope I have more assets that I need, because I hope that I'm roster constructed correctly, because I'm giving up a quarterback in a 14-team super flex league. Like, we can make fun of Russ all we want and hope that he cooks in Pittsburgh, but the reality is he's more than likely going to have a starting job. And that's going to be super valuable in a 14-teamer. Both of us play in a Heisman league that's 14-teamer with, super flex, and we know how quarterbacks are valued in there. So even though it's Russell Wilson, he's still going to be highly valued. I think it's a very good way of getting off of taking a package for the 106. I think you're getting a starting quarterback, you're getting a starting wide receiver. Greg Dulcich could be a bonus.
Right.
But I don't think this is a deal that I necessarily need to make April 19th if I'm the one receiving the 106.
Correct. I can see myself being on the side that is sending away that package to get the 106. I'm playing to the deepness of the format. It's a 2 tight end league, so let me send you that Greg Dulcich. Let me give you that tight end, right? That hope and a prayer. 1-6 in a 14 team. It could be that last quarterback that sneaks into the first round, right? Or it could be one of those elite outcome wide receivers in Neighbors or Odunze. And with the information we have today, I want Neighbors and Odunze a good bit over Pickens. I agree, in a 14-teamer, the quarterback matters, and I'm not discounting quarterback at all in that format. I just feel like I can, like I said, again, we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times. You're days away from the draft. 1-6 is an exciting pick to have in this format. I feel like you settled. I feel like you took the thing that was going to look good in the lineup, maybe. As you're filling your lineup before the season starts, you're going to like seeing those extra pieces in there. It's not a deal that I'm making today. But if you're playing to the format, you want to get that quarterback, get a tight end dart, and take a step down at wide receiver, I can understand the mindset. I'm still going to lean 106 here. The deepness of the format makes us at least close.
Yeah, and see, I'm on the other side. I do want the rest side. I know that giving up the 106 kind of feels uncomfortable, but it's the format. It's really the format that makes the decision a little bit easier for me to swallow. Yeah, I'm probably giving up the opportunity of having a long-term quarterback asset, but I've got a quarterback asset, and I have a slight step down from, like you mentioned, Odunze and Neighbors to Pickens, and I get the stack, and all I had to give up was the 106. Like, I think that for me, it's really the 106 should have had a little bit more, even if it's a 3rd round pick, right? Something that can make it a little bit more balanced in a 14 by 12. Like, if there's a 3rd round pick, all right, the 3rd round pick negates Dulcich, and now it's a Pickens and Russ for a 106. Yeah, I feel a lot better about that side. But you're giving me 3 assets for 1, even in a lineup, and it's a starting quarterback. That's the biggest thing. It's a starting quarterback. Now, if it's like Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, yeah, all right, wonderful, well done. You masked that George Pickens. You dressed up that George Pickens with some great assets to get the 106, but you gave up 2 starters, right? And we talked about it earlier. Giving up 2 to get 1, like, I gotta have 2.
Yep, I can see the context that I would go after a deal like this. I'm still going to lean the 106 just because I think that there's going to be a combination of names in here, same tier quarterback, same tier wide receiver, where I'm like, yeah, sure. So that's where it's a good deal. Both teams probably accomplished what they want to, But until further notice, I'm just going to bet that what I can get at 1.6 is going to be able to net me this kind of a return when I want. So I'm going to just consolidate here as we go into the draft process and have an extra fun piece to play with in the 1.6. Okay, back to Girth Brooks. Little different, 14 by 12 Superflex PPR with a 0.175 tight end premium in start 2. This was before the Diggs trade, so we're going back in history here. We're going back weeks ago. Nico Collins and the 1.4, or the 1.2 and the 2.02. I mean, again, trying to go back before the Diggs trade, Nico and 2.02, I definitely want Nico. 1.2 and 1.4, I want the 1.2. That's probably a square deal, but I'll take the 1.2 and 2.2 just because again, it's maybe not. Maybe that's my post trade thing because I still like Nico. I don't think it really changed his value much for me. It just makes him probably more accessible. The step down from the 1.2 to the 1.4 isn't a lot, and you are getting the plus there. So it's probably a square deal, but this is one of those deals that I would send this if I need the choice at 1.02. If I need to make sure that I walk away with a quarterback or, that Marv, I really need that Marv. Let me pay this to get up to 1.02, especially if I know the guy at 1.01 isn't going to go. Let's say the guy at 1.01 is flush at quarterback and they're not trying to trade that pick. They're locked in on Marv. I'd pay that to move up to get that Caleb if I needed that Caleb, So I can tell myself the story here. I think it's a pretty square deal pre or post Diggs trade, more than likely.
It looks a lot more square post Diggs.
Correct.
Before Diggs, I think this is actually. I think the 104 side has actually got it by quite a bit, and I think I could see what he was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Move because Nico was probably at the time at his peak before. He was pushing on KTC. He was pushing up there. In the wide receiver ranking. So you could have gotten a solo first for him straight up.
In my mind, I was like 1.8, 1.7, somewhere in there, probably.
Like that. Right? Somewhere in that range where I'm making the decision between Adonai Mitchell and Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Right. Xavier Worthy, Nico Collins. I'm probably taking Nico 7 out of 10 times in those instances. Post Diggs trade, now it looks like Nico and 2.02 are almost side by side. And so now I stepped down and didn't really get anything extra. So I think this is one of those situations where it's fine. I mean, you can't be revisionist history. You can't look back and say, I would have added to this deal to make it better for me because I stepped down from the 1.02. It's also the scary point of trading your top tier picks before the rookie draft. Mm-hmm. Because situations like this do happen. We've seen it a couple times where big name wide receivers have moved prior to the draft or even in the draft. I mean, we all remember the infamous McNutted, shocked exclamation right when AJ Brown got traded and how that shifted the wide receiver landscape. And we still could see a trade next week that could shift the wide receiver landscape.
Yeah.
So I think it's just maybe, I don't want to say it's like a cautionary tale, but it's just something to consider for 2025 as we move into the draft season. If you've got a top tier pick, just because you have it doesn't mean you necessarily have to trade off it or trade down off it. You can still take the player you want. Mm-hmm. Just understanding when you're moving assets that have players like Nico Collins, you just got to be careful because you can get into a revisionist thought and think, well, I didn't get enough, or I moved them at the wrong time. Because I'm sure Michael 808 is feeling wonderful that he moved that Nico Collins, got to move up and got a second round pick on top of it. Like, I'm sure he's feeling wonderful right now.
Right.
So there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah. Yeah. When you said Nico and 2.02 are probably equal, like my mind, no, I don't know if I would want the Nico side of that, but also what would that be? Okay. Is it 110, 111, somewhere in there? What's really the difference between 110 and 2.02 with the information we have today? Me personally, not a whole lot. So I agree. Like, especially like, again, I think it's pretty square. I think you're not really gaining much from moving down at this point. So give me the 102. But again, I still feel like Nico's value is still shaking out in the overall grand scheme of things. And I'm really going to be interested to watch that asset going forward. So
yeah, I was going to say, Ty, let me ask you a question. You make this trade today.
Yeah.
What else do you need on either side? to make it for you. Let's do that example, because I think that's something that people would actually want to. All right, well, this is a square deal. All right, so what would you do if this trade popped up in your inbox today? What still needs to be added to either side?
That's the tough. I wish you could just take this 202, put it over here, and take Nico out of the deal. Just give me the 202 to move down 2 spots. Does that not get it done? Okay, let me add in a wide receiver coming back of a lesser value than Nico. But if we're sticking with this structure, yeah, I mean, if you gave me a second, just an extra second on top, it's probably all it would really take for me.
Yeah, can I give you a 25 second?
Yeah, that's fine. I can use that.
Like, so, again, just trying to think, like, because these deals have happened. I'm sure there's plenty more Nico Collins deals that have happened post digs or even pre digs where you're feeling like, I should have, how did that change? How did that change the value? Like, probably a 25 second is probably the most you could have squeezed out of the deal to begin with. So really, did you really lose out on anything? Right. Probably not.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like I said, I'm typically not one to try to make a second hold up a deal, much more so I don't care about a third holding up a deal. A second, I'm a little more stingy with, especially when I can use it in the future. So I can tell myself the story. Yeah, that extra second gives me exactly what I need to make that make sense. So all in all, close enough. As times change, it's always going to change how we view things. So good to kind of go back in time a little bit there. Okay, we got a startup trade here by old Pistol Pete. 12-team Superflex PPR 1.25 tight end premium. It's a start 10 Devy. Okay. Raheem Mostert. So, the 7th round pick is a 4th round Devy pick. Keep that in mind. A 4th round Devy pick. Raheem Mostert and a 4th round Devy pick, or Brian Robinson.
I want the Mostert side. I mean, there probably is a little bit of a difference between B-Rob and Mostert, age, team, opportunity. But I've got the opportunity to get a 4th round Devy pick. I get the chance to jump on a college player before the draft. And in the start 10, depending on how sharp the folks are in that league, that 4th round Devy pick could actually be a starter in 2025. It could be a running back that makes this deal tip in that side. It could be a wide receiver in that side. I'm trying to think 4th round, like picks 4, like that could be somebody in 2025 that's impactful, or even 2026, because there's probably going to be a handful of 27, 26 that are picked way ahead. And then you got your 25 players. So you're probably looking at somewhere in the, like your 2025 third, essentially, like late 2nd, early 3rd. I got a 3rd on top of Mostert to get the B-Rob. Yeah, sure, fine.
Yeah. In most contexts, a 4th round Devy pick doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I think a 4th round Devy pick is much more dangerous in certain managers' hands than other managers' hands. But end of the day, I'm just going to ride Mostert because both of these running backs fall in that they don't have future value for me. So it's about what they can do for my team right here, right now. If I'm just swapping running backs, give me the one that has shown to have that running back one upside, and then I get an extra 4th thrown in to do something with. So yeah, I'll take Mostert here. I don't think we have to go into anything else there. It's pretty choose your favorite running back, and I'll give you a little piece on top. Okay, I'm sorry, people. It's small. We got Smidshot, a 12-team start 11, tight end premium super flex. The way the draft is laid out, he should have a chance at either Daniels or Rome. So would you want Daniels? I'll put into players the names here because we're getting to that point, Brandon. We're getting pretty close. Do you want Daniels or Rome and a 2nd, or Trevor Lawrence?
I think it depends on the player.
Correct.
That he just talked about.
Yeah.
Let's turn it. Let's do the exercise, right? Jaden Daniels in a 25 second or Trevor Lawrence.
I'll take the package.
We'll take the package, right? Because roughly a similar production range of outcomes for each quarterback, and I get a 25 second. Rome Odunze and a 25 second, or Trevor Lawrence in a super flex start 11.
It's different. It's different because it's that quarterback, and that's what you get. There's that block in your mind for quarterback, but the answer is still probably the package, in my opinion.
I guess without any context, for me, knowing what this super flex and what Trevor Lawrence still is, he's a safe quarterback. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, he may not be, the ceiling may not be in the top tier or even tier 2, right? He might just be a really good top tier 3 quarterback. He might just be a really good Dak Prescott, which is okay. That's not a bad thing. And if you want the reroll to get the 106 in the 25 second, I think that's a very fair value. For me, I think it really depends on what's there. But you can't really do that right now because you don't know what's going to be there until you get in the rookie draft. And I think it goes to, can you have even made this deal in a week when you're on the clock and you've got,
you know what's there.
The person's got the 106, you know what's there. Could you do the Trevor Lawrence deal and get the 106 in the 25 second? Chances are, if Jaden Daniels is there, yeah, someone's probably going to realistically make that deal. But if Rome Odunze and the 25 second are there and you have your Trevor Lawrence, you're probably good. Like you said earlier, that it's the thought of having the quarterback in your head. It's going to be harder for the manager on the clock to say, yeah, let's pull that trigger.
Right. Yeah. The problem is like those safe quarterbacks, they fall in that range where I feel like I can fill that need cheaper than 1.6 in a second. Like you raised Dak Prescott. Like I even think like a Goff, or if we want to go the safest of safe quarterbacks by a contract perspective, Deshaun Watson, right? Like I can fill that quarterback need, that safety blanket at quarterback for cheaper than 1.6 in a second. I think in my mind, I agree. I think Lawrence is a good safe quarterback. I think he probably is what he is, which is going to be that quarterback 12 to 16 range. You're going to feel fine, start him in your super flex. He's probably not going to win you every week. He's not going to lose you every week, but he is what he is. I like the idea of getting 1.6 where I can either get that quarterback with upside in a second, or I can lock up an elite tier outcome wide receiver, get a second, and try to figure out that quarterback elsewhere. Figure out a cheaper way to patch that up. I have months before I have to start this lineup, so let me bet on myself that I'll be able to figure out that conundrum.
Yeah, with limited context, I could see both sides. I could see your point of it.
This is the one.
Biggest thing. If
you have context,
a little bit more context, then we might even agree. I might even be completely 100% on your side.
Correct. Right. If this team that sent away Trevor Lawrence has Joe Burrow and another quarterback, you're absolutely fine.
Yeah, let's just say you got Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, okay, I'll move that in a heartbeat. Yeah, even if I don't get it, yes, I'm doing exactly what you're trying to do. And I might even try to use that 106 and tier down, right? Can I go get that Jared Goff and a second round pick? And now all of a sudden I've traded Lawrence for Goff in 2 seconds. Now I'm almost playing literally interchangeable and I got 2 free seconds. Now I've deepened my team to start 11.
Right. Agreed. It sounds like they're making the deal to make a choice. So go for it.
Yep.
I'd say don't get locked in if you can, like I said, as a really creative way to go about it. If the goal was to get quarterback, can you approach that cheaper and get an extra little something in your pocket going into the next season to fill in some of those other gaps? So it's a good deal. I'll take the pick side. We're back where we started. I don't think we need to go into this one anymore. We really we went through that one. Here we go. So back 12 by 12, super flex, 2 tight end premium, and rebuilding. We have 4 trades here. We got a 4-banger, and people can't see it. I'm going to read it out. Okay. First deal, Dallas Goedert and a 25 second and a 2.0 tight end premium 12 by 12 for the 2-4 and the 25 fourth. Brandon, 2-4 and a 25 second. I'll want the 2-4, but it's close. I want Goddard over a fourth at a 2-point tight end premium. So give me the Goddard in a second here, please.
Yeah. I'm trying to find yep.
No, I tried. I don't see it myself.
Nope. Move on.
Again, you're in a rebuild, getting a future second for a 2-11, even before the draft happens. I like it.
Yeah, I think that's one where I might even try to get a third tossed in, even if I got to turn my own thirds in. Right? Or can I get 2 seconds? Can I move that? Can I use my second and a third and get even a late first and 25? Can I do something? Can I get creative? Right. If I'm going to consolidate picks to consolidate and move out and rebuild, I want to try to get as many firsts. I don't want to be playing the 2-11 for potentially the 2-11 next year. Now I'm just kicking that can. I want to try to accelerate the rebuild and push forward into 25. Right.
There is some power in having the choice now and having the asset that's coming up now. This is a good bottom dollar deal that I will do. If I can't do anything, I don't want to make that pick. Absolutely, I'll do that. Certain teams, certain contexts, I might want to have that pick. really not even certain team or context. It's certain leagues. I would want to have that pick if I know that that pick is something I could do some more with. Like you said, I'd love to do something different with it, but I'm fine just re-rolling that if that's my final outcome. Rebuilding roster, taking on Zach Moss, Rashee Rice, and a second, sending away Tank Dell and Cole Kmet. Interesting, a 2.0 tight end premium. Rashee Rice and Tank Dell. Let's start there. Same thing, kind of. Right? Is that fair enough to wash out?
That's pretty close. Even if you want to add Zach Moss, fine. Because you feel scared about the whole Rice incident, which you shouldn't, but all right. The difference is Zach Moss, fine.
Right. And then it comes down to Kmet in a second. And a 2.0 tight end premium.
It's a starting tight end that doesn't really have a super high ceiling. 25 second, sure. I mean, again, this is one of those deals where can I add my third? Can I add another piece? Can I add some fluff to boost that to a 25 first? Like, what can I do to get a 25 first? Because it seems like the theme of these series of deals is there's a lot of 25 seconds. There's a lot of 25 seconds rolling around here. And all of a sudden, Drew C is going to have like 8 25 seconds. At some point, you're going to have to consolidate those into first.
Right. Yeah. And if I'm a rebuilding roster, I don't have much interest in taking back Zach Moss. So, yeah, can I take Zach Moss in that second and get something I actually want back? I love the idea in a rebuilding roster going to get that Rashee Rice. I don't love paying Tank Dell for that, but if I can get a plus on Dell to take on your Rice, I'll do that. I don't mind sending away Cole Kmet, like you said, kind of a low outcome tight end, but he's going to be tied to Caleb Williams. So I could see, a second. I think that's probably fair. So I would love some more. Again, I don't know why I'm taking on Zach Moss in a rebuild, and that's what I'm getting hung up on. So,
I mean, it's an asset though that you can move in season. That's really what it comes down to. You move it, even if you move it for a 26 second. Here's a scenario where it can actually work in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
Cincinnati doesn't draft any running back until round 5, round 6. All of a sudden, now Zach Moss is basically in the Joe Mixon role.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, I can see a path where Zach Moss can actually be a relevant. Like, it's kind of like the cost of doing the business, right? I'm gonna take. I got to take on this. I'm gonna take on this Rashee Rice because this owner probably does not believe in him now. They're reading all of the stuff. They're seeing the lawsuits. They're getting spooked. They want off of it. They're gonna take your Tank Dell. They're gonna take your Cole Kmet. Oh, hey, can you take this Zach Moss for me, even though I'm giving you I'm giving you an equal or better wide receiver plus a 25 second? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll use this any running back on a 53 that has a complete upside to be a top 14, 15 running back. We've seen him do it in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a great asset. I agree, it's not a great asset, but it's something that I can trade a 26 second for, or I can use one of these 25 seconds I just talked about, and I can move it into a 25 first. Now I've consolidated the asset. I've got the free roster spot to go pick literally any rookie running back that I want, or rookie wide receiver I can pick up at roster spot, and now I've got a first.
Right.
Because again, at some point you can't make 8 25 seconds on a rebuilder.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I think that's just that in my mind. Like I don't want to take on Zach Moss for the sole purpose of trying to trade Zach Moss, because it feels like a sinking ship where every day that he's on my roster, it just might get a little bit lower in value, a little bit harder to move. So I agree. Like, if I took Zach Moss out of it, I'd still call it a pretty fair trade. Rice in a second for Kmet and Dell.
Yeah.
The risk size is on the Rice side. So give me the extra plus with the Moss. I'm fine with it. Just have a plan with that Zach Moss, please. That's
absolutely. Yep.
And finally, our boy Mitchell in a 25 second, or Hollywood Brown in a 304. Where are you coming at?
I'm on my own second. That's the key part of this deal. He's getting his own second back, which means he had traded it at some point, and now he's trying to rebuild. And the cost of doing the business is Hollywood Brown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hollywood Brown's not going to hold up a deal.
It shouldn't hold up a deal to get at what should be, if you're rebuilding correctly, should be an early 25 second. And maybe that is a piece that you can utilize. Again, we just talked about it. This could be the potential piece that you utilize with the Zach Moss to push yourself into the 107, 108 range in midseason when the running backs are needed. That Now all of a sudden you have multiple opportunities in 2025 to acquire elite pieces to expedite your rebuild. Like, I have no problem doing this deal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And now let's zoom out really quick. So you sent away a 204, a fourth, the 211, Komet, Dell, Keaton, Marquise Brown in the 304. You got back Keaton Mitchell, 25 second, Zach Moss, Rasheed Rice, a 25 second, a 25 second, Goddard, and another 25 seconds. So you've really done well to, like I said, attack that second round next year, have something where you don't need to put a player to the name in a week. And you've moved into a couple of assets, like in a Goddard. I don't mind getting into a Goddard, in a 2.0 tight end premium. I don't mind that at all. Again, Zach Moss, Keaton Mitchell have a plan, but I like the moves.
Yeah, I mean, and you got assets in Rashee Rice that is stable, but then you got assets that are like Dallas Goedert, Zach Moss, that you can utilize, and you can move them and down tier off of those assets. Can I take, Dallas Goedert in one of those seconds, and can I flip him for a young tight end like Jatavion Sanders and a 25 first? Right. In season when Jatavion Sanders is stumbling out of the blocks, right? Mm-hmm. Can I take that Dallas Goedert and can I take one of those seconds, and can I go get, even lower, go like Hunter Henry and a 25 first? Because I still have the same range of outcomes with the tight end, and but I'm getting the value of increasing the first. Like, those are the kind of assets that they don't necessarily belong on rebuilding rosters, but you have a plan, like Ty said earlier, and you have the ability to get them off. You know that people are going to have a market for them. Can you use some of these extra 25 seconds that he accrued by moving back? Can you use some of those to push yourself into 325 first? You should have a goal by the end of the season. I want to have 4 first round picks. Okay, well, if I've got my own and I've got somebody else's in a random high end deal, how do I get 2 more? What pieces do I need to get off of and these seconds to get 2 more? So that way, at least I know by the beginning of the 2025 rookie draft, I've got 4 first round picks. I'm able to make 3 of them impact picks. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden my rebuild is accelerated, because what we don't know, what is quarterback situation in this team? What are the other parts that are on this team? Like, we don't know those things. So if you're rebuilding, try to give yourself a goal. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest thing that we don't do in Dynasty really well, is we don't set goals for what we want for our roster. And when we don't have goals to set for our roster, and we're just trading just to make trades, you don't have something to shoot for. And you're just like, oh, I got a bunch of picks. Okay, but now what? Now what do I do with them? Like, put some goals to it, right? Mm-hmm. If you got all these seconds, like if you have a rebuilding team, how many first do you want by the time this does? Not just trying to, just accumulate, and just to show everybody, hey, look at all these picks I got. Like, have a plan with them. Have a goal.
Gosh, go back and just listen to that again. That was some good stuff there, Brandon. And I consider you one of the go-to people to consider, how do I make like some microtransactions within a deal and think 3 steps ahead with it? I think that you're really good at that. You've made these deals in these Heisman leagues that we're in together. But I agree. Like, you got to take the whole context into consideration there, but have a goal. I love that. If you're going to a rebuild, don't just say, I'm rebuilding. What's a soft timeline that you want that rebuild to end? Right? Mm-hmm. What's the goal? And start to align your moves with that, right? If my goal is to get out of that rebuild in 2025, okay, how can I set it up where I'm adding those running backs in 25, where I'm getting on these assets that maybe are injured now are going to be healthy in 25? How can I take some of this equity here and put it into the 25 draft, right? So start to maneuver yourself with a goal in mind. It'll come out better most times than not than just kind of aimlessly floating and trying to quote unquote win the deal every time. Yep. All right. We've been going for an hour here, so let's get one more. You know what, Girth? We've reviewed 2 of your trades. I'm gonna let that go.
This is a good final one right here.
That's a lot of names.
Good one right there.
Yeah. Okay. So again, people can't see it. So it's a 12-team start 9. Who is this? Big Steve-O, old Steve-O. 12-team start 9 PPR. No tight end 1 off spot, just flex. What? No tight end spot, just flex. Okay. So Steve-O receives Kyler Murray, Deontay Johnson, Devon Achane, and the 212. And they send away Tua Tagovailoa, T. Higgins, Zach Moss, Trey Lance, 2025 starting quarterback for Dallas. Trey Lance, 1.9 and 3.09. Goodness. Okay, we need to start crossing off some things here, Brandon. Where do you see this?
All right, so let's just start with the quarterbacks because that seems like the easiest part, right? Kyler for let's just go Tua and 109.
Yeah,
it's a little high. I mean, you know what? High. Let's do two. Yeah. Let's do Tua. Let's do Kyler in the 212 for Tua in the 109. That's probably a safe tier now. That's like a safe tier off. Like sure. Tua in the first, a little bit too high. Can you give me a second? Yeah, sure. Okay. So those kind of cross out. Even in a start 9, the 212 means nothing. Yeah. So we've got now Achane and Higgins, probably relatively similar dynasty value. They're both starters. Going to probably net you about a first in most leagues, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe I need the maybe I So then it's Deontay Johnson.
Put the 3.9 with Higgins there. Like just sure. Put it there because I think in a start 9 you're going to want that upside. Give me Achane there. So send the third with that.
Yep. So it's Deontay Johnson or Zach Moss and Trey Lance.
Yeah, give me the Kyler side.
Like I want the Kyler side. Like I get 3 solid starters. I get a draft pick just to have a draft pick that I probably can move into a 25 pick, or I could use to draft a running back just so I have some bodies. But this is a good opportunity for both sides. You want to down tier off of Kyler. Maybe you want to you have a portfolio aspect like Scott, and you want to be able to get off of Kyler because you're not 100% convinced that he's the guy in that offense. And you want to take some Tua. The upside of Tua is there with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. I get the 109, so I'm getting. Maybe I'm getting Brian Thomas. Maybe I'm getting JJ McCarthy, depending on what's there. Like I'm okay with taking that side of the deal as well. Like I can see both sides of the deal. I can see what Steve-O's doing. He's trying to take some assets that he has and consolidating them into startable pieces. So I think I don't really see either side being completely like over and above. Like, oh man, this guy crushed it. Like both teams got what they wanted done, and I have no problem with deals like that.
Yep. No, I agree. I think Steve-O got the 2 best players in the deal with Kyler and Achane, right? Which in a start 9, you love to see. But the other side, they didn't like minor 113 or minor 13. They didn't take too far of a tier down in Tua, right? They kept Higgins, which I like Higgins for a dynasty asset over Deontay, but I feel like Deontay is probably going to give, if not more, production than Higgins. So, production-wise, it's probably a wash. Dynasty-wise, give me that Higgins, so you get a little bank there. I want Achane over Moss, but again, Moss will give you something. You go from the 212 to the 1.9, and you get Trey Lance and 3.9. I can see it. In a start 9, I'm still going to lean Kyler because you get the best player. I'm going to lean Achane. You get the elite outcome player. You get the hammer. And I like how Steve-O kind of packaged up stuff to get there, right? They weren't afraid to throw in that Lance. They weren't afraid to throw in that 3.9. They weren't afraid to throw in that Zach Moss. They weren't afraid to throw in that Higgins, knowing that they're going to get a Deontay back. So this is a really well-constructed deal and a good way to consolidate some of that stuff and move up in the important positions. So good work. Brandon, we did it. We got through it. Happy to be here. So once again, where can the people find you on X? And maybe you can give us a quick 30 seconds on, probably more than 30 seconds on what's happening this week with Destination Devy.
So you can find me over at X at BG-C, or you can find me behind the Destination Devy Twitter handle. So make sure you follow both when you go over to X. This week is busy. It's draft week. It's the week leading up to the draft, but then it's also the week after the draft that's just as important because you're going to want to break down. So you're going to want to make sure that you tune in to Destination Chill, turn into Wake Up on Monday with Ray, J. Rich. Ray is coming back from vacation. He's going to be re-energized, coming back from Hawaii. He's going to have a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of, he's ready. He's ready for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can tell he's ready for the draft. I know Scott and the rest, and I know Ty, the rest of the team is ready for the draft. Make sure you tune into Overreaction Pod. Make sure you turn into Off the Line with Gene and Ike. I'm going to be on that pod, special guesting along with Jay Rich. We're coming back for the draft. It's going to be it's going to be the betting props. So you're going to want to make sure that we're going to hit those and tackle those. So make sure you tune into that on Thursday morning, right before the draft starts. And then make sure you tune into the YouTube page. Make sure you're there for the draft. All 17 hours of coverage. We're going to start Thursday night, Friday night. We're going to go we're going every pick.
Yep,
so it is going to be a long weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend. You can come on over. You can jump in the chat. You can have some fun, win some prizes. Make sure if you're not subscribed yet to, or you're not signed up for Underdog Fantasy, make sure you use the promo code DDD for an opportunity to win. There's, I think, 10 jerseys. There's going to be multiple roster review giveaways. There's going to be Heisman ranking, Heisman tier, patreon.com/allgas. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of content going on. And then on the flip side of the draft, right, we also have the Destination Chill is going to be on Sunday night. Ray and Scott are going to be tapped in, giving you all of their immediate feedback in one consolidated show about the entire draft. And then you're also going to want to wake up on Monday morning with Ray. So make sure you're tuned into YouTube, youtube.com/RayGQue. Make sure you're over at the Destination Devy YouTube page. It'll be down in the links below. Just make sure you're tapped in. That's really what it becomes. That's really what it comes down to. We got some great content creators that create a lot of good content. Ty yourself as being one of them, taking the trade show on. A lot of good content going on, but then there's also our great community, patreon.com/allgas. I can't say it again. One of the best fantasy football communities that are there in the space right now. There's guys literally sitting right now in a voice chat as we record this that are talking about the 14,000th mock and how could it potentially affect our, but we're also talking in theory, come for the trades, stay for the theory.
And stay for the conversation on unsalted butter and what fertilizers. Best place to be in the Dynasty community. Maybe, yeah, right. DDD, promo code DDD at Underdog, $10 match up to 100. You still have time to max out the little dog. I got auto-picked Gardner Minshew in the 16th round today with the time cut down, so that sucked. But not too late to enter. You get the free copy of the Destination Devy draft guide by doing so, along with entry into the contest that has, again, if you can win a Heisman membership just from tuning in and depositing $10 on Underdog, come on, best deal. Get on over here, patreon.com/allgas, destinationdevy.com. This is the place to be. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you found it actionable, entertaining. Hit the like, hit subscribe. We out of this thing. Peace.